What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Chris. You may know me as Precious Robot from the DBK Minecraft channel. I had a conversation with Mike Smith, who is a cybersecurity expert. We talked about online voting, the future of voting, as well as voting fraud, and some other interesting topics. You may know Mike Smith as Ranger from the DBK Minecraft channel. He's a really good friend of mine. We had a really interesting conversation, and I really wanted to play that for you guys now. What's up, guys? We're here with Mike Smith. He is a cybersecurity expert, and he's going to tell us about online voting. Is it safe? Is it not safe? I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm basically pretty much saying that it's not.
So, what, in your opinion, are the main hurdles we have to overcome to move towards online voting?
Well, I think a few of the ones that come to mind right now is, ultimately the verification, how we do the verification,
Mm,
because like with mail-in voting, there's multiple processes that they go through to validate the votee to be able to do that. And I think for online voting, I think that's the one of the main things is verification of you. Also, I think the duplicate voters, even with paper or mail-in ballots, they still have that challenge. The same thing. I think really, if you take all of the challenges that they currently have in mail-in ballots,
hmm
I think they have that it would transfer to online. So the other one that comes to mind is basically forged or modified votes basically.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be a big one. So I think really if you take that, I think that's the main hurdles that you would have to be able to take on the online. Besides all the security stuff that we kind of talked about, is that I think there's a whole uh, plethora of issues that come up in online voting, and I think that yeah, they're the main ones, I think.
Okay, awesome. So I've heard some people talk about two-factor authentication as being really secure. You think that could possibly something we could do with online voting kind of deal?
Yeah, I think there's varying types of two factor or 2FA or multi factor. They say it different ways. You have basically security keys, which are like a hardware token. You can have a keychain like a YubiKey, or a fob, or some type of USB device that you plug into your system. Um, that's one type. The problem with that is, they're low cost, but
Mm-hmm.
not low enough cost to like send everybody in the country. So
Oh
I
yeah.
think security keys are cost prohibitive for sure. Biometrics, I mean, the main ones, we have finger, face, eye, voice. I think that, again, I think it's that's a tall order to be able to do that type of thing. So I think for me, the only logical thing and probably the most uh, widely spread one today is one-time passwords or OTP,
Mm-hmm.
which is basically a unique code that is sent to a trusted device. So in essence, like just in regular computer, computing login, whatever, you have a username and you have a password, and then you have two factor, which is something that that you have. So like I could get your username, I could get your password, but if you're using password authentication, then it's pretty hard to get that. It's definitely hackable. It's not 100%.
Mm.
There are definitely some issues with it. Um, I think the challenge around 2FA for this type of thing is that it really requires internet access. It
Yeah.
requires some type of email account or a phone or something so the digital codes could get to you. Problem is that they can definitely be intercepted by a cyber criminal for sure, and also the digital codes. They could be somebody could get into your phone and have it. So if they like if you have no password on your phone, any biometrics on your phone, and somebody finds your phone and they get into your, say you keep all your passwords in, something
Yeah,
like a
not good.
notepad, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then boom, they have everything, right? They have the keys to the kingdom. So it's a really what it is it's an what I would say it's an extra layer of protection. It's not like the end all be all, but it's an extra level of protection. So it's better to me right now as a cybersecurity person. Like password management is really huge, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that for me, it's like I feel that if I have a username that's unique for every site and a password that's unique for every site, as far as the most that I can, then I have the
Mm-hmm.
2FA,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll help. And I think with voting, it would definitely have to be something like that.
Gotcha. Right. Like something you don't.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
something basically,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So something which is your password, and the 2FA is something you have. That's the easiest way to remember it. And for biometrics, if you want to know what that is, it's something you are, right? So you have
Mm.
kind of the keys or something you have. Biometrics is something you are, and the OTP or the one-time password is something you know.
Huh.
But again, to me, I translate it to something you have as well, because if somebody were able, say you were online voting and they were able to uh, say that your computer has malware and they had a keylogger, and they're pretty much everything you do on your computer they're seeing and replicating.
Damn.
Well, they know all your passwords, right? So
Mm-hmm. Shit.
they know your passwords. Well, the one thing they don't, they I guess if you had the app on your phone, and that's one thing we should probably cover, is that the traditional ways to get that. Well, I guess we sort of did is, but there's three main ways. There's SMS text.
Mm-hmm.
There's the authentication phone app. So on your iPhone, Android, you can have an app, and then also phone call is another one. Um, the other one not as much used today is email, and it's kind of, to me, really should be not even looked at in two-factor or OTP, because of the fact that getting in somebody's email is like a walk in the park. It's so
Oh,
easy
really?
that,
Wow.
yeah, it's so easy. But getting a hold of their phone, so I think for
Mm.
me,
Gotcha. Okay.
the SMS texts and the phone app, I think are really good, and also the phone call. And the phone call would be probably more predominantly used in a voting system,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
because not everybody has a smartphone.
That's true.
Um,
Yep.
so so what it does is it calls you, and it basically calls you and says somebody's trying to authenticate. If you authorize this, press a one, and if not, press a two to
Mm-hmm.
deny it, and then it won't allow you into the app. So it's
Yeah.
like it's
That's
it's it's pretty cool. But again, if you have a flip phone, that's probably what you would use.
right. Yeah. Or even a landline. Does anybody still have a landline like at all?
Yeah, believe it or not, I do. I'm kind
Really?
of old school.
Really?
I do.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I'm one of those very rare cats, but I do have my landline.
There's probably a good reason for that, I imagine.
Yeah, I use it for a lot of reasons.
You're like
But
nothing I
yeah,
can talk about, but
there's still a lot of things you can do with it.
oh
But
yeah.
but again, it's still VoIP today, which is kind of cool. So voice over IP.
Hmm.
So it is no longer going down your old traditional telephone line poles.
Oh really?
Maybe in some parts of the country, but where
Huh.
I live, it's all fiber, and
Oh.
and high speed coax. And so what you basically have, they call it VoIP. So it's voice over IP, and really what it is, but it is still a landline. I mean, literally, I have, besides my cell phone. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
So that would be a possibility. That would be a possibility that people would do, because again, I think the thing with a lot of what we've been talking about, it's for technologists or people that are into computers, and they own multiple computers, or they have a laptop and a desktop, and they have a smartphone, and they have a tablet, and they have internet, and they have all this stuff. Not everyone in the country has that. So that's one of the challenges I see with voting and online voting in general. Besides all the security issues, mostly around just what is easy to me.
Hmm.
To be able to do all this stuff, I can't see that everybody would have it. And I have in my own professional career have run across some systems that I've set up for OTP and doing that. And here I am thinking, yeah, we're going to do like the authenticated app, and you start talking to people, and they're like, well, I don't even own a smartphone.
Mm.
So,
Oh,
and if
yeah.
you have a flip phone can still get a text and they can still get a phone call. So if they're an older generation, I think they prefer to get the phone call.
Do you think it's possible that anybody like doesn't have a phone anymore? like, do you think like the phone is like the required technology to vote, or do you think it's like should just be like address? You know what I mean?
That
It's kind of a weird
that's a
question.
good question. It is a good question. Yeah, I mean, it definitely is a good question. I think for sure, landlines are definitely a pretty much a thing of the past. I agree with that. But I think cell phones are getting there where pretty much, I mean, whether you have one of the main carriers or,
Yeah, I mean,
not,
even just like a
um,
basic phone, like even just like a landline, like even like,
exactly.
do you
Yeah.
think
I
anybody?
think it would be, I think it would be required. I think that would be one
Gotcha.
thing, but again, I'm sure
An
somebody that
address
is
and a phone number, more or less.
pretty much, yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah, pretty
That's
much,
interesting.
and for sure, with the mail-in voting, the two required things for there, and it would be no different for online
Right.
voting. Is you
Hmm.
would have to have a state issued ID, and you would have to have either a mailing address or a phone.
Right.
Yeah.
So, an argument I've heard for online voting says that we trust our money online, so why can't we vote online? Is online banking even as safe as people make it out to be?
Personal opinion is no. I don't, I think it can be for sure. I definitely think it can be. But I think for your average person, I personally don't think that it's as safe as they think it is,
Hmm.
especially like banking apps on your phone. Um, I would love to do it, but I just know better, so I don't do it.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh no.
but I can tell you that for sure, that is a great question, right? Well, if we can bank online, why can't we vote online? And I think that um, the real thing that comes to mind for me is that, a lot of people that don't have good computer hygiene and don't do their updates and don't make sure their antivirus and you know, malware, apps are all up to date,
Hmm.
and they just click on anything, and they see pop-ups and they click on it.
Oh
More than
no.
likely they get, their system has a bunch of malware on it. The other thing that's real big too, that makes online banking really dangerous is phishing. And again, if people are working for a company that has a really good security awareness program, and they're really leery, and they're like, for me, like, say for instance, say that my bank is Bank of America or something, right? And I'm
Hmm.
I'm in my email, and I'm like looking at my email, and all of a sudden I get an email, and it's like, from Bank of America, and they're like, hey, your account has been suspended, and click this link and log in, right?
Oh no.
Most people would be like, I always say hover before you click, hover
Mm-hmm.
over the link before you click, see what it says. If it says XYZ 1 2 3 4 blah 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 whatever, yeah, I'm probably not going to click on it. But even
Right.
if it did, it's like I would be like, no, I'm going to pick up the phone and I'm going to call the bank, and I'm going to be like, hey, so what's
Hmm.
the deal? What's going on? They're like, what do you mean, what's going on? Well, I just got an email from you and you're suspending my account for whatever. And they're like, we never sent you an email.
Mm, yep.
So it's like people don't do that. Well, that's why I say that online banking, it seems like it's the same, but it's really not. It's completely different. So I
Gotcha.
think with voting, the biggest problem that we have is everything we sort of been talking about, and mainly around the security, and yeah, is it convenient? Absolutely. I mean, but mail-in voting is convenient as well. So there's a lot of different, like I would say, like security gates that need to be in place, um, that would make it a little bit. It would be, I don't know, protecting the democracy of the country is, I think, a lot different than
Yeah,
banking.
that's true. That's a good point.
Yeah,
That's a really good
yeah.
point. Yep. It's a really good point. So, how much easier do you think it would be for other countries to like interfere with online voting?
That's a great question. I think that 100%, it would allow other countries to basically meddle in the election. 100%, they
Mm.
would be able to. And again, it all goes back to like the circle of life, what we talked about, where it's like your computer, like most people, if they're not real, if they just like fire up their machine and click on everything and go everywhere, and they don't update their machine or whatever, it's not really their computer. There could be spyware, adware,
Mm.
there could be malware on it, there could be, who heck. The one thing that you'll know if you have is if you get ransomware, it's not like it's not black and white. It's just friggin' black. Like everything goes bad, and you get a pop up, and it's like, hey, your computer has been ransomed. Here's the message, and go to this address and give us some Bitcoin money. That's a 100%.
Wow.
People know that.
Yeah.
Um, but as far as from your computer, I think that, I mean, because these botnets that are out there today, they attack everything from IoT, which is Internet of Things. If you have a Ring camera, if you have a couple years ago, they were really hacking the Ring cameras. So Ring doorbells, Ring cameras, baby monitors. I mean, they
Wow.
were hacking into baby monitors,
That's
and
crazy.
sitting there watching your kid sleep and
Ooh.
talking to them, and stuff like that.
Ooh.
So it's the same thing with this, where if you're online banking, or you're online voting and you're getting ready to vote, um, say that all of a sudden they're like watching your computer and monitoring your computer, and they see you log into the voting system, say they know what the voting system is, they'll just intercept your computer and take over and just start voting for you, and then boom, submit it, and you're like, whoa, what happened? And so I think it can 100% be meddled in, unless there was some type of secure VPN, which
Hmm.
is a virtual private network that you have to connect into, say for your county or your. So there are ways to do. I mean, where you can on somebody being able to come in and get into your computer, but if you're just like going to a website, there's a lot. And we also talked about too is that the code within the voting system, really the security of the code and how well the code's written and how many vulnerabilities, because there'll always be a bug or a vulnerability in it.
Hmm.
Once those attackers figure that out, they could definitely 100% meddle in it for sure.
Damn.
The one thing with about mail-in ballot elections, you have the paper trail, which is really what you need for
Mm.
recounting to be even possible, right? You need some type of paper trail. Yeah, I just think that the internet voting, I think that unless it has some big advantage over walking into the physical voting booth
Hmm.
versus the mail-in voting booth. Now, if we didn't have mailing and they were like we just had in-person voting, and then they're like, hey, we're thinking about doing online voting, maybe there might be a difference. But I think it would, like I said, it would really be tough.
Mm.
With everybody, it's like, I don't know how, almost an impossible feat, because it's not like they can ship you some type of device where they can see you, validate you, verify who you are, and then now it's like let you vote on some type of like iPad or a very secure tablet, right?
Mm.
Because it's something that is very secure. It can only talk to certain systems, so it's unless the hackers are in that system. But your computer that is pretty much kind of a swamp for just malware and viruses, I think it would just be a bad idea.
Yeah. So what about like polling machines? Like we talked about this a little earlier, but
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, they're definitely they're definitely 100% hackable. Variations, and I think really what it boils down to, and what we kind of figured out with those machines, is it really is the software that runs on them. That's really where the problem is. Really, no code is 100% secure. It's always going to have flaws. There's always going to be bugs. With enough time and enough ability, or whatever, you're going to break into the thing. But I think that it's a little bit less likely, especially after I believe it was DEF CON 2018, where we kind of shed a lot of light on it, and got kind of a lot of news and press on it, that I think that the government started looking into it and making it, and trying to do the best they can do to make it as secure as possible. But man, if it has a USB port on it, say the back of the machine, it's a game over at that point.
Dang. Yeah, that's true. What about like retina scanners? I mean, that's kind of like from science fiction, but is that like something that would be possible, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be 100%, especially in person. I think it would be definitely, something that would be, I think it would be good. But we might be crossing some type of lines where, it's now like, I don't know, it might be infringing on some right of yours by the government.
True,
by the government having your retina scan, or they already have your fingerprints, but
that's true.
Again, that's been
that's true.
a long so they could do it fingerprint, but again, like I said, fingerprint readers can be spoofed in a way. So it's not 100%. It's better than nothing, but they're definitely spoofable.
Damn.
Multiple ways. I mean, you don't need it's not like the the Godfather, where it's like, hey, go get Vinny and kill that guy, and I need to get into his safe and get his money and cut off his right index finger and put it on ice, because we need to break into the safe.
Awesome.
It's not like that. I mean, I've seen them where they're just like, hey, here's a glass, have a drink, and you leave, and they basically dust it and pull the prints off, and they make basically this mold from it, and they're able to get into whatever, even in laptops. I mean, laptops have built in, some of them, for the TPAM, which is a built-in security chip that they link to a fingerprint reader. So easy to hack. It's Do you think it'd be possible to do like on a mass scale? Like, do you think like the amount of effort it would take would be worth like just that one vote? No. So that's I don't think it would be. No. I don't think. You hit the nail on the head. One vote for the amount of work that it would take. No. Not cost efficient. No, 100% not. Yeah. I mean, that kind of gets me thinking though, like how voting in the future is going to go. Because I mean, you hear a lot about like, chip implants, especially with like COVID now. Everyone's like so worried about like, we talked about it a little bit too, like, you not being able to leave the country unless you have a chip that says I've had the COVID vaccine, and you can like prove it by the chip, or you can have like a chip implanted. Like, I wonder if like in the future you're required to have like a chip. Like, could we 100%. Potentially use that to vote? Democracy's still around at that point if we all have chips. You're right on the line of 100% solving everything we talked about. Yeah. Look at that. Boom. It's implanted in you, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, there's no verification. You are who you are. I mean, to be honest with you, I was, back a few months ago, back in, I don't know, April, May, I was pretty much convinced that with the whole COVID vaccine, that you would have to get chipped. And I know that, again, anybody follows DEF CON, we have the biohacking village, which they do just that, where you can basically get yourself injected with a small little, like very, very small little implant. and you can actually, it works off of NFC, and you can scan it with your, iPhone, Android, whatever, and it'll pull up information on you. You can put information on it. It's kind of an interesting thing, but it would be like, yeah, you have the COVID vaccine, so now you can basically travel to Europe or wherever you want to go.
Dang. What if they like made it to where you couldn't vote unless you have the chip or like the COVID vaccine, like you have to get the vaccine to vote? Do you think that would ever? Do you think people would stand for that? I mean,
no way. Hell,
yeah,
hell
I
no.
don't think so.
Well,
either.
just like the implant thing, man. There's no way that people would even stand for that.
Yeah,
so that's why I'm saying that, if they did, because think about this. I mean, the way I look at it, and I could be completely wrong, but I think that for COVID, for the vaccine, that you're going to have it stamped in your passport, or you're going to have to carry some paper with you saying that you have been vaccinated, or from COVID, or you have the vaccine to be able to go and fly to Europe. Or
they're already
fly
doing
to
that
Canada.
with concerts right now. Like they're starting to implement to where like you can go to a concert, but you have to prove that you've had the vaccine. I think that's interesting.
Or you've had a COVID test within the last 48
I think that's what it
hours
is. The test, right?
Yeah.
I think it's a test, not the vaccine.
But yeah, no. If they did that, then then again, there would have to be some device to be able to read it. And what you and I would say is, well, pull out your iPhone, pull out your Android, and you're good to go, right? Because I'm sure I'm not an iPhone user, but I'll tell you that pretty much any Android, unless it's really old, has NFC built into it, and you could basically verify yourself, and if it was a phone app or something. But again, it still goes back to man in the middle, the attackers being in the middle. And our nation state threat actors are very capable, and so I think that I think it would definitely be something that they could kind of dabble in and manipulate.
If they were to ever like implement some kind of thing that says you have to either get this chip, or you have to have this vaccine, or you pretty much have to meet this certain criteria before you could vote. I mean, besides like the obvious, just proving you're a citizen. I mean, do you think we could ever have a true democracy if we were to ever have like that kind of stuff in place? Because like at some point you're alienating people, like certain people.
Yeah, I don't think so. No,
I don't think so.
I think once you go down the chip route, it'll be it'll be basically your everything. It'll hold all of your medical information. It'll hold all of your criminal information. It'll hold all of your financial information. And you can never, like, you can't start over. You're it's like you're a prisoner of your information. Wow. And I think that I mean, it's like you wherever you walk into, they can basically have permissions or access to a certain part of, say, that file, and be able to, like, you go walk in your doctor's office, they could set it up where they can, you have to grant them through your app to let them see your medical information. It sounds great, right?
On the surface, it sounds like,
like say you're in a car accident, right? And you're like, man, what's wrong with this guy? And you basically, the paramedics pull out their special phone or their phone, and they're able to read the chip, and it's like, oh, this is the person. They have this, they have that. They're on these medications. It's great.
Yeah.
But I think that for the government, they would turn it into much more than it would be benefiting us. I think in the end, I think it would not benefit us.
Yep.
So I'm totally against it.
It would on the surface, but deep down, especially the way they're already exploiting us with social media and like using our data, selling our data to third party companies to like show us ads. Like imagine the type of like hyper like specific ads they could show you. You know what I mean? Like in real time. I mean, if you were to have like stuff like Google Glass, which I haven't heard a lot about, like that kind of stuff.
Kind of died off. I think they kind of shut it down. I don't know what they're doing now with it, but it was pretty popular for a while. That. And I think that what I would ask somebody that's really a big proponent of online or even thinking about online voting and why we don't do it, I would ask them, what is the benefit of online voting with all of the security that comes in to just the mail-in ballot? That's really what I would say, is that it's secure. It's the best we can do it.
Oh yeah.
It's convenient, and we have the paper trail. We can do these recounts, where online, I think it would just be very messy.
Yeah. It's like, and if we were to ever want to try to implement that, there's still a lot of hurdles we'd have to get over. And there's still, if for some reason they would ever go to an online route, it's still pretty much, as of the technology right now,
exactly.
not
and
safe.
I think the problem too that a lot of people just assume is they assume everybody has a computer.
That's true. Yeah,
that's not the case. Has a computer. And they have internet, right?
Yep.
You have internet and you have a computer. I don't think that's the case.
Yep, it's true.
I don't think that's the case.
Yep.
And just like I don't think that everybody has a smartphone. So building an online voting system I wouldn't say it'd be a niche group, but I think it'd be a lot less of a group than you would vote with, that you would get with mail-in ballots.
Gotcha. Plus, like we said earlier, mail-in ballots work. I think this election is really going to prove that and show people that they can have confidence.
Now, what I think about online or with mail-in voting is just like we were talking earlier. I honestly don't know the second part of the verifications, and I'm sure that if somebody that's listening or somebody that knows, they'd be like, yeah, there's a whole plethora of checks and balances that we go through. It would be interesting to know. Yeah, it'd be interesting to know what some of those are. In this election, I've heard of a few of them, but I can tell you that if we can get that really tuned and dialed in, where we can get, we're not sending ballots to people that died. We're not sending, a ballot to somebody because they said they didn't get it, and they do eventually get it, and they send that one and the one that they originally got. So they sent two in. What is their checks and balances that catch that? And what other ones? And I bet you they could say, well, right now our SOPs on this, our standard operating procedure, we have 15 different checks that we do on certain things. Where I do know this one is, if you basically get your ballot and you sign it, say you're you were, I don't know, say you were 50, right? When you did your signature on your driver's license, and now you're 70 or 80, right? And you have a little shake in your hand, and you got a little bit of it's like some type of physical problem you have that changes your signature, right? If it goes in there, and I do know that they go through this thing where they'll verify the signature on your driver's license to the signature on the ballot. I don't know how they do it so rapidly, but they do. If it is different, they pull your ballot and they basically pull it off, and then they're going to either call you or email you and let you know that there's a discrepancy in your signature. And I don't know what they do because I've never had it, but they'll basically have you maybe come in to the election office and basically sign your name or prove who you are physically, and they'll be like, yep, Bob's who Bob is, and they'll let you through. I do know they have those checks and balances, and I bet you they have a bunch more. How would you do that in online voting? I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. If you like this kind of content, please like, subscribe. It really helps us out. If you're looking for some awesome Minecraft content, head over to youtube.com/dbkminecraft. You can find me as well as Mike Smith. We're going to be over there streaming all the time. Should be a good time. So, yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Peace.